What up, cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and we're going to do a video about the upcoming WWE Heavyweight title. More specifically, we're going to talk about the fact that Cody Rhodes, once again, got screwed out of the title by Brock Lesnar. As I said in a previous video, I believe it was my Backlash review, the fact that Cody Rhodes pinned Brock Lesnar with what can best be described as a fluke roll-up type situation, and WWE wanted to present this as if it was this win that it wasn't, right? As if it was this, nail in the coffin of Brock Lesnar. Proving them wrong, Lesnar came back, beat the hell out of Cody, and cost him the title opportunity. Now, this means that the first ever champ is going to be, I don't know who it's going to be. I don't really see it being Seth Rollins for some reason, but I don't know who else it could be, right? I believe that one of the matches is like Rey Mysterio versus Edge versus AJ Styles. I would expect AJ Styles to win that match, and I believe AJ Styles is then going to beat the other guys like Austin Theory, Lashley, and Sheamus. But given that the Raw match, the Raw qualifying wrestler is Seth freaking Rollins, right? That means that he's probably going to win, right? I mean, Raw needs a champion. Roman's on SmackDown, so it looks like it's going to be Seth Rollins. It looks like that's already been kind of spoiled, if you will, right? Seth Rollins doesn't deserve to be world champion, especially with the Seth freaking Rollins thing where he dresses as a woman and wears feminine clothing and has no actual character. But it is what it is. We do need a C champion, and Seth Rollins will suffice. In my opinion, Gunther is more prestigious. At this point, the Intercontinental title is prestigious because it's been around for a fucking eternity, right? It's like the second oldest title in WWE after the WWE title. So, maybe just elevate Gunther there and just kind of use him as a stepping stone to create this new title. But hey, what do I know, right? The truth is, Cody Rhodes didn't win, Finn Balor won that triple threat, which meant that he was going to get his ass whooped by Seth Rollins. Because obviously Finn Balor, his entire career was basically him getting his ass whooped by Seth Rollins. But I digress. It is what it is, right? The only thing that matters here is that Cody Rhodes is not champion. Now, what will this mean? Presumably he's going to eventually face Roman Reigns again since that match ended in a screw job. And he's kind of shifted focus on Brock Lesnar. It's not really clear why, right? It's like Brock Lesnar screwed him, but he should still be focused on the title. But anyways, this goes to just show that we can build Cody Rhodes once again, into this underdog is going to eventually have his moment situation. But let's be real. At the same time, I think people are starting to come around to the reality that Cody Rhodes is just a mid-card jobber. This guy, he's beaten Seth Rollins several times, so Seth Rollins becoming the champion means nothing. Cody Rhodes becoming the champion also means nothing. This is just a bunch of mid-carders, right? In my personal opinion, the person that should win this tournament should be Edge, right? And Edge can then move on to Raw, or even Rey Mysterio. They're the only people here that are legitimately not mid-carders. The third person is AJ Styles, you know what I mean? But, he flounders back and forth from the main event to the mid-card. So, it could go either way, but I'm going to predict it's going to be Seth Rollins. With that being said, there's not much more to say about this. Cody Rhodes is a cuck, and he has been buried once again. I don't really see the purpose of this. It's been think about it. He's been back for over a year now, and it hasn't felt like he's done anything. I hate to bring it back to The Undertaker, playa, and the Decade of Destruction. But 1 year is 1/10 of a decade, and he's had 5 matches. You know what I'm saying? That's just ridiculous. If it were up to me, I would just bring back Randy Orton and have him win. Or create a new star. Hell, give it to Ludwig Kaiser. I don't give a fuck. Create a new star. Cody Rhodes ain't that dude, motherfucks. He ain't that dude. He will always be a jobber. He will never be taken seriously as a champion. This is a guy that for a part of his career was looking for the cosmic key. I cannot take him seriously. And in my personal opinion, I don't even know why he main evented WrestleMania. The match was pretty good. I'm going to have to be honest. But let's be real here. Come on. This is a dude that was in AEW, and all of a sudden he comes back and he main events? Get the fuck out of here, you know what I'm saying? Whatever happened to that bullshit about like people taking people's spots? In my personal opinion, the faction that I mentioned a few videos ago should happen. You know, we have yet to see the effects of the draft. I mean, we saw like Zoe Stark debut, but otherwise Raw felt exactly the same as it always has. Nothing changed. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to set up this new champion, but nothing has really manifested yet, Cucks. So what are we looking forward to now? That's always a question that I'd like to ask. What are we looking forward to? Roman Reigns doesn't show up. MJF on the other on the other show, doesn't show up, right? So, in other words, the two guys that are supposed to be the champions don't show up. So we have to look forward to Jon Moxley and Seth Rollins. The B guys from The Shield are now the top two guys that we have to look forward to in wrestling. Because it sure as shit is not Cody. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. How many people show up consistently? And then think about who the best one is of those that show up consistently. I rest my case, Cuts. It is literally a sea of mid-carders. You know, at this point, it's like if you ask someone who's going to be the main event in 5 years, it's like you wouldn't know. You know what I mean? The only one you can make an educated guess to would be like Austin Theory and maybe like Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes because they're like coming up, you know, but probably they're going to, at least one of them is going to fail. Probably not Braun Breaker. I could see Carmelo Hayes, you know, having like a R-Truth Akira Tozawa-esque career too. Like, you know what I mean? People like are really high on this guy, but let's be real. He could easily become the next Kyle O'Reilly. Let's not get too excited, right? But, I mean, the reality is what the reality is, right? We have nothing to look forward to, and this reminds me of a video from like 3 years ago at WWE.com that I did on an article WWE.com made, right? They were like, who's going to be on top in 5 years? And they were completely wrong. You know, they're like, Jon Moxley's going to be the champion. Hideo Itami is going to have the what's it called? The Money in the Bank, and he's going to challenge and beat Jon Moxley. It's complete like conjecture, right? They're like, Kyle O'Reilly's going to be on top. Adam Cole's going to be the champion. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, all these people are gone. Like, 100% of these fucks are gone. You know what I mean? And then there was another article by What Culture Wrestling. They're like, who's going to be the number one wrestler in 5 years? And them too. Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, Jacob Fatu. And I remember, motherfucks, this video was like one of my first videos. It was like 3 years ago when I started my channel. 3 years ago, cucks. And like in that video, I was like, there's absolutely zero chance that Jacob Fatu is going to be the number one wrestler in 5 years, right? And he has 2 years left, motherfuckers. He has 2 years left to become the number one wrestler. He has zero chance because he has to now overcome his entire family, which are all going to be above him, right? Like, Solo Sikoa is positioned better than Jacob Fatu, right? So get the fuck out of here with this bullshit, right? Everybody knows who is and who is good, and everybody, for history, immemorial, motherfuckers, always knew who was next up, right? You look at the Attitude Era, you had The Rock, you had Stone Cold. They were like the current guys. You had Undertaker, who was like, not the old guard, but it's like, it was clearly The Rock and Austin. It was their time, right? Undertaker was like already the Undertaker. You know, he was already kind of like the guy that was going to put them over, right? And then who was coming up? You knew it was going to be Triple H, right? And then they introduced Kurt Angle. You knew it was going to be Kurt Angle, motherfuckers. Then they bring in Brock Lesnar. You knew it was going to be Brock Lesnar, right? Then Edge starts getting a push. You knew it was going to be Edge. Then they signed Rey Mysterio. You knew he was going to be a big deal. They put Batista with Triple H and Randy Orton with Triple H. You knew they were going to be big deals, right? Yeah, here and there we had like an unexpected surprise, like an Eddie Guerrero and a Chris Benoit. But generally speaking, you knew who was going to be the future, right? You just knew, right? Some of them, and this left a good opportunity for people to really come out of the woodwork, right? For a JBL to have his time. For a Booker T to finally have his time. For Rey Mysterio to have his time after Guerrero died. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's centered back to the core people. Batista, Orton, Edge, and then eventually once Cena came along, you knew, motherfuckers. You knew. Now, who do we have to look forward to? Tell me now, motherfuckers. In this roster, let's assume incorrectly that Seth Rollins, who a few months ago was losing to Austin Theory for the United States title, right? Let's assume that this guy is now something relevant, right? Let's assume for a second, cucks, that Seth Rollins is a main eventer. Who is next? Who is next, motherfuckers? Take away Braun Breaker and Carmelo Hayes because they're in NXT right now, right? Who is next? No, Grayson Waller, shut the fuck up. He wasn't even like on Raw, right? Zoe Stark got a spot. He didn't get a spot on Raw. What the hell was that all about? Cut? You know what I'm saying? Where is he on SmackDown? He probably won't get a spot there either. Cuckolds. So what I'm getting at is this. We don't know who's next, and that's a big problem. We always have to know who's next. There can be some speculation as to who's next, right? There was a point where it looked like Val Venus was going to get a push. There was a point, believe it or not, Cuts, where it looked like Al Snow, he was feuding with like Mankind and shit. You know, you're like, oh, maybe Al Snow's going to get a push. Maybe British Bulldog's going to get a push. And then you realize all those people were jobbers, right? But, you know, you had like a Jericho, right? Jericho is like someone that you knew was going to eventually get a push, right? But, you know, you didn't know. Was it going to be Jericho first? Was it going to be Benoit first, right? There's always some speculation. But you always knew that Kurt Angle was like the one out of those three, let's say, that was definitely going to be like the number one guy from those three, right? You always have to know. And this is not unique to the world heavyweight picture. You always have to know the mid-card too, right? Who's the next Intercontinental Champion? It could be Kofi Kingston. It could be Montez Ford. It could be Ludwig Kaiser. It could be literally anybody. It could be Oro Mensah from NXT. It could be anyone, right? There's absolutely no value in being... It could be Ricochet very easily, right? And the title has meant nothing for years because nobody really wants it. It's just like something that just happens, right? One day Ricochet just gets like an Intercontinental title shot and he becomes the champion, right? Big deal. Who the fuck cares, right? We have to care. We have to care. And the reason we don't care is because there's too many titles and not enough people, right? It's not just one side of the equation. Problem one, too many people. Problem two, too many titles. Problem three, though we have too many people, we have a shortage of worthwhile people, right? We don't really need, like on NXT, there's a tag team. It's like Idris Enofe and the other guy. I don't even know his name, right? We don't need those guys, right? And then also have like the dyad. We don't need all these teams. They add nothing. There's nothing unique about any of them. We don't need both Idris Enofe and Oro Mensah, right? We don't need another jobber, right? We don't need them cucks. We don't need, Cameron Grimes I like, so I'm going to keep him around, motherfuckers. But we don't need Odyssey Jones. Like, I can't even believe this guy's still in the company. We don't need Bronson Reed. We don't need, like, 80% of these fucks. We just don't need them. Nobody needs them. Nobody wants them around. Like, Joe Gacy is already, like, boring. You know what I mean? Do we really need this fuck? No, we don't need him anymore. He is not necessary, cuts. He is not necessary. Noam Dar is coming back. Do we really need Noam Dar? Drew Gulak, for some reason, is still getting paid by this company. Do we need Drew Gulak? He's like JTG back in the day, who was just there for like 10 years and like just getting a paycheck and doing nothing. You know, we don't need these fucks. What we do need is people like LA Knight to get a push, right? Give LA Knight a push. Why hasn't this man gotten a push, right? Why does Mustafa Ali still have a fucking job? This guy has done nothing. He's been there for like 8 years. He's done zero, man. He's like one of the worst wrestlers of all time at this point. You know, that's what I'm going to say. So with that, I think I've been inspired to do another keep 'em or dump 'em type video. So get with that, motherfucks.